A very good evening to you. Welcome to the West Ham Weekly on the West Ham Voice on a Monday night. I hope you've all had a good weekend. It couldn't have been ruined, could it? Because there was no football. So if it was ruined, it was your fault rather than David Moyes' fault. But anyway, I hope you all had a good weekend. So some news. Well, is it news? I don't know. You tell me. All the latest transfer rumours suggest that Jota or Jota, I don't know how you want to pronounce it. It's another one I'm going to struggle with. Only 4 letters. I'm going to go with Jota because it's a silent J, kind of. Is apparently close to signing for West Ham United. I guess we're only going to know in the next day or two because the transfer window has only got, how many days left? 2.5 days left, just over 72 hours left. So we'll see what happens. But apparently there'll still be 1 or 2 deals to be had. Possibly 1, maybe 2 players coming in, and I'm going to get to those in a moment, with possibly 2 to 3 players still ready to leave West Ham. So I'll give you all those updates in a moment. And of course, all the latest updates on player news and the academy teams as well. But before I do that, I can see there's like nearly 130 comments in the chat. So why don't I go and sort those out first? Otherwise, there'll be about 400 by the time I actually get round to doing everything. So who's first? Good evening to you, usual. I hope you're well. Clive is in the background. Hello, mate. I hope you're well. Good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Graham, how are you, mate? Be positive. I could use some good news right now. Positive. We didn't play. So there's nothing to moan about. So I'm sure that's okay. Peter, good evening, mate. Jota is not a successor for Paqueta. Good evening, Stel. I'll explain that later. I'll explain my reasoning. I'm not talking about him being a successor in this season, no. But we know what's going to happen in the summer. We're going to need someone who's going to be able to replace Paqueta, but I'll talk about that later. Hamret, good evening to you. Good evening, Flamer. I hope you're well. Bill, how are you, mate? Evening all. Looking forward to how Moyes sets up. There was a piece in one of the papers saying Moyes has told Alvarez that what a load of bollocks, really. See, I mean, come on, people. What do I always say? Don't believe all the crap. And I'm not saying that you're believing that, Bill, but it's total nonsense, isn't it? Why would he drop Alvarez? For what reason? Alvarez has been one of our mainstays in the team, and look how much we suffer when he doesn't play. Yes, he's got a poor disciplinary record, but we knew that before. Moyes should have known that before he was signed, because Alvarez had something like 2 or 3 bans last season for Ajax because of yellow cards. I think it was 2. So it's absolutely no surprise. But isn't it good that we've got someone like Phillips in the team, that when Alvarez is not around either because of injury or suspension, etc., we've now got someone else that can play. I'm not saying it's either or. I still think that they're going to play alongside each other. But it's good now that we've got Phillips. So when Alvarez isn't around, it's not so bad. But I'm speculating again that possibly Alvarez could also go in defence as well. It's very likely, depending on what happens in the transfer window. We've got problems in defence, haven't we? So I don't think Alvarez is going to be dropped, to be quite honest with you. There you go. Personally, I don't believe he'll be that stupid. Absolutely. Graham, good evening to you. Why not have both for a while? We need some positive news for a change. Fed up with West Ham, always in the news. Let's just get on with the rest of the season. Bring us some joy, please, Stel. Well, I hope I'm succeeding. I don't know. Toha, good evening to you. 2 night 12. I don't know. I wasn't that late, was I? Couldn't have been. Ian, how are you? West Ham and transfers, do they go together? Listen, you know what? With transfer stories, I kind of alluded to this last week about us being in our own little claret and blue bubble. We think that all this shit just happens to us. I can guarantee. Well, no, I'm not going to guarantee, but I'm sure a lot of other teams go through, or their fans go through similar sort of processes. To be quite honest with you, I bet you'll get Arsenal fans and Chelsea fans and whatever other fans sort of go moaning about their transfers too. We're not the only ones that think that we're a little bit hard done by in transfers. Good evening, Path. I hope you're well. 21.19. Good job. I think still has averaged 4 minutes late. Bet365 have stopped taking bets on 4 minutes. Like I always say, I'm never late. You lot are always early. That's the problem. Hamrit, good evening to you. The Osman agent stuff is bizarre. If reports are to be true, we've been dealing with someone who isn't officially his agent. Good excuse, I think. But anyway, we'll get back to that later on. Lord Patrick, I hope you're well. What are we all talking about? Well, we're talking about West Ham transfers and West Ham and transfers, and no talk about David Moyes. Do you know what? Because we haven't played a game, I've got nothing to talk about David Moyes. We don't have to go into that world, do we? Moyes in, Moyes out, etc. We can just focus on all the transfers that ain't going to happen and what the academy has done. So that's not too bad. Lord Patrick, by the way, it works. It works is mad. If I can strike a deal with a club, I would then go to the player and offer him to start again. But the way it works is mad. Agreed. The transfers. If I can strike a deal with a club, I then go to the player and offer it to him. And if he accepts, then I'm the agent for that deal. Yeah, well, it is a little bit crazy how it all works. It seems that anyone can become an agent these days. Imagine someone handing in papers and he's not even the player's agent. Toka, I would like to believe Stel gets in the mood by listening to John Farnham's "You're the Voice" while sipping spice rum before he appears. I'll give that a try. Who else have we got in tonight? Good evening to you, Hammer's dad. How are you? Haven't seen you for a while. I hope all is well. Hope we don't get Tashi. Never stops drooling over him. It's a throwback, isn't it? Old Jota's moustache. But yeah, he'd be. Someone said he could be the replacement for who's that Argentinian that you liked, Hammerette? Lanzini, the Lanzini with a tash. Who else? Yep, he does indeed. Where was that comment? Does Jota resemble an old porn star? Where are Tim Scouts looking? He surely does. Bill, at least the left side will all speak the same language. Emerson, Paqueta, and Jota. Good call. That's yeah. Didn't even think of that, to be honest with you. Who else have we got? Martin. Good evening to you, mate. I hope you're well. Good evening, Howard. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining, mate. Who else have we got? Shaky. How are you, mate? I hope all is well with you as well. Vinay, hello, mate. I hope all is good with you. He is the successor to George Michael. God, he's going to get slated by our own fans, isn't he? Dexter, hello, mate. I hope that I'm very well. I hope you are too. Debbie and Mark, I hope you're well. I say it'll be Stell's cats causing carnage after getting hold of Stell. There's one over there. I'm not going to turn the camera around, but can I? Oh, you can't see him. You can't see him. I'm sorry. But there's one over there, fast asleep. Fast asleep. All they do is eat, shit, and sleep. That's the life of a cat. You know, I wish I was a cat. I still think we need a little more in the way of a defensive cover. I don't disagree. Zumani's not the best. I don't disagree. Our great Italian is not getting any younger. Lost another in this window. Yeah, you're spot on there. And I'll be talking about who could possibly, you know, the rumours have come back about a particular player that we might be going in for. Aaron, you Jota have faith. Oh, God. Oh, very good, Aaron. Very, very good, mate. Who else we got here? Garino, hello, mate. I hope you're well. No signings today. I see Moyes out, Steiden out, Sullivan out. It's me, Sam. Good evening to you. Does anyone know if it's likely that we could sign both Jota and Osman? No. Or is it one or the other? It's definitely one or the other. Or I would say it's definitely the other, because Osman, you can completely forget about. There's stories. I don't know which story to start on Osman, but I will get to him in a moment as well. Let's scroll down and get a few more in. The moment. Good evening to you. Sorry, just reacting to the title. No freaking way Jota comes to close to replacing Paqueta. Bear with me, and I'll explain why. So stay in the show, and then you'll get to understand a little why. Why I say, you know, I'm not advocating for it, by the way. Please don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying it's either Jota in and Paqueta out. Certainly not this season anyway. Daniela, the girls in the under-21s both won this weekend. They did indeed. I will get onto those in a moment. Dexter again. Unwind from work whilst the partner has an EastEnders catch-up, evening cuppa and a Monday West Ham weekly for me. Thank you very much, mate. You know, some people, I won't mention their names, Wiggy, prefer to watch Emmerdale than watch his mate do a show. But that's another story. Ballon. Still, might we sign Hull winger Mo Lester? You got me, didn't you? I just went straight into that one, didn't I? Vinay, has Bench Rama been sold? He has his moments at West Ham, but it's not going to work for him anymore at West Ham. We're still waiting for offers, to be quite honest with you. Trini, how are you, mate? I hope you're well. Jota, the porn star, next film starring with David Sullivan, Steel Toes, Black Country. Good evening, Steve. I hope you're well, mate. Thank you for joining. Clive, I don't know where you are, mate. You're either in the background or you're watching. I don't know, but hello, Clive. Vinay, once Moyes goes to Liverpool in the summer, we are finished. Imagine if they went, I mean, I know they won't, but imagine if they said, we want you, Mr. Moyes. We want you to come and save us. Can Jota take a different call? Now? Oh, the George Michael songs coming out here. Robert, Stell, I'm very well. Today's happy birthday, mate. I hope you've had a great day. Give you only good news. Okay, West Ham didn't lose at the weekend. How about that? But seriously, I hope you've had a great day. Happy birthday. Schmiegel, how are you, mate? Jota worries me a bit. He has been at 4 different clubs in the last 5 years. Yeah, I ain't worrying about that. But I'll come to him. I've done some research on him today, and I must admit, I didn't realise he was as decent as I wasn't sure. I know he played for Celtic, but I wasn't really sure if he was decent or not. And then I saw his stats and I thought, hang on a minute, that's not too bad actually. But bear with me. I'll come to it in a moment. Ironics, we need anyone decent to rest our overly worked midfield. But we've got quite a lot of players coming back. All of a sudden, we're awash with midfielders. But Sam, Jota is a mercenary. Well, when you go to Jordan Henderson, when you go to Saudi, you're going for the money. You're not going for the bloody football, are you? And then you realise that life is not so good when you're not playing so much football. In Jota's case, he's played no football. But anyway, Garino. Phillips gets more yellow cards, so who is taking Phillips's place when Moyes finds out? Sarif Kalispera to you, mate. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining, mate. Good evening to you, Steve. I hope you're well. All good, mate, and I hope you are. Good evening to you, Lee, as well. Infamy, good evening to you. Get any chance to check out Thiago Almada from you mentioned him last week. I won't lie, I didn't get a chance, but I will because I actually even wrote it down. So my apologies that I didn't do it. Could he fit into the club? Be a replacement for Fornals, Benny or Cornet? I will look at it, and I'll do a little feature about other players that we could or may or should have gone for. Andy, hello, mate. I hope you're well. Question: how many loans can we do in this window? Is it only 2? That's a really good question, and I don't know. But given the fact that there's been a lot of talk about getting loan signings in, it wouldn't surprise me if we did only get 2. To be honest with you, Andy, I don't think we're getting any more than 2 players in this window, whether it be permanent signings or loan signings. I think that'll be our lot. But it's a good question. I didn't even think of that. Good question. Schmiegel, to hammer it. I haven't been well, which is why I've been on lately. Medic taking, mate. I'm sorry to hear that, and I hope you'll get better soon. Really do. Aaron, fuck it. Let's start. Moyes out. Ballon, timeout, negotiating with the wrong agent. Just incredible. All of that Ibrahim stuff. Honestly, unbelievable. In my opinion, Garino, it is telling that there has been no info from Romano, Darmish, etc. regarding the Osman deal, as called by the Danish fellow with Gio earlier. Most just rehash stories with little checks on info. Absolutely. I watched a little bit of that earlier on today, the Gio video. And do you know, it makes me go nuts because, as Gio said in his show earlier on, we're not a news channel. We're just a fan channel and we get to hear stuff. But, it's not that anyone wants to get things wrong. But if we get it wrong, it's because we've heard information that's 3rd or 4th, time over. Whereas these people, Romano, Dartmouth, they're coming out and people believe them. When Dartmouth talks about a transfer or Romano, etc., people take their word for it. And it's quite interesting, isn't it, that Danish fellow, he sussed them out, didn't he? And he called them out for what they are. They did no checks on the rumours that were given. It's awful, isn't it? I mean, how does it help you fans to determine what is true and what's not true, when even people who are on, Sky, etc., are not giving you the right info. Ironics. Do you think we could achieve another 30 more points? Why not? Why not? We've done well. That low ball, low block football has done wonders. Imagine low block for the rest of the season and we finish 4th. Sean, I hope you're well, mate. How are you? Adam, I hope you're well. Don't be sorry you're late, mate. You should be upset if I'm late. Infamy again. Just worth asking for a little bit of fun during a slow workday. Ask away, mate. David, I'm very well. What makes you think that Paqueta will be going to Man City with a cloud over their heads? Good point. Yeah. And did I hear that inquiry into Paqueta's gambling put back? It sounds as if, man, don't take my word for it, but it sounds as if there's not going to be a lot to go on to sort of try and get Paqueta on that. I think that's going to be quashed. Whether it gets quashed by the summer or not, that's another matter. But yeah, you're absolutely right. It may not be Man City that will go for Paqueta. It may be another club. Kevin said earlier, every year for as long as I can remember, the January said it for you're gonna have to rewrite that, mate, because I didn't quite get what you meant. Charles, Jota looks like the fella out of the village. The first thing that he's got to do, if we do sign him, he's either got to grow a beard, the poor bastard. I don't know. Maybe maybe he ain't got. Some people can't grow beards, can they? Grow a bit of bum fluff, and that's about it. Maybe that's the problem he's got. So he's either got to grow a beard, or he's got to just shave that fucker off, because he's going to get so much stick from our fans. It's going to be, people are going to be throwing dildos at him and all that, aren't they? They're going to be like putting I don't know, porn music on in the background while it, I don't know. Peter, anyway, I don't know what angle I'm going there, but I think I better stop. I hope you're well, Peter. Thanks for joining, mate. Good evening to you, Gary. I hope you're well. Sarif, be glad when this window shuts. Fed up with all the transfer. Do you know what, though? The problem is, Sarif, as we all know, and I think I said it after the transfer window, the summer transfer window, the rumours don't stop. Just because the window shuts doesn't mean we're sort of, we're out of the, the mire of transfer rumours, because they just carry on, and then they just keep them going, don't they? Best thing to do is just switch all the transfer stories off. Dan, good evening to you. Zuma runs like a 1970s Doctor Who monster. What, that fast? Fucking hell, he doesn't run that fast. Kevin, oh mate, said it for as long as I can remember. The January window should be abolished. Bang on, mate. You got there, and I read it. I totally agree. I do agree with you that it just winds people up. It's pointless. You just, you hear all these stories. It's bad enough in the summer when you hear all these millions of stories of the players that we're linked to, and then they do it again to us in January. It is actually, I agree with you. It's pointless. You pick your squad, and that's it. If you get injuries, etc., you find a way of getting through. Keith, Jota looks like George Michael. You've got to have faith. Finn, where have all the asset stripping, bored out fans gone? You only boo when you're losing. Don't worry. When Moyes goes, we'll be back on the board and more bored out and all that. That's going to happen. Garino, to Ballon. He was only there for 6 months or so, and if stories of 100k wages are to be believed, he would have to give back around 50% of that to the tax man. Oh, I knew there was a thing about tax, but I wasn't sure, and I've got it in my script, so I'll try and remember that when I get to it. Cam, good evening to you. Stunned, we went and signed another midfielder before a striker. I'm not surprised, and to be honest with you, Cam, we're not getting a striker even in this window. We might do in the summer, but it doesn't surprise me at all. I've been saying all along, I think we need an attacking player, absolutely, but I don't think we're going to get a striker, and I think we'll end up with a left-sided attacking player. We could get a defender in as well. David N. Did all your rumours come from good pal Sean from Clown Heat? No, not all. Some, but not all. Rani, good evening to you. I hope you're well, mate. Thank you for joining. Good evening, Glenn. I hope you're well. Is this player we are getting? Well, that's the latest story. Jota is the player that we are currently, apparently we've agreed terms. Apparently. And now we've got to agree a deal with the club that he's leaving. But let's see. Dexter. Big week ahead of us if we get the win against the Cherries and Old Trafford Sunday. If we can win both and the Manx lose both, potentially 9 points clear, could be a great opportunity. We're back in playing, aren't we? It felt we've had our little winter break, haven't we? A bit later than everybody else because there was a certain cup that I can't remember what is it that we didn't get ourselves involved in at the weekend. So we've had our little break and yeah, it could be a big week. I absolutely agree. Peter, I was surprised when Jota left Celtic. Quite a decent player there. There you go. Thank you for that. In a moment, I'm going to hand over to Clive, who's going to do the chat so I can get on with the rest of the show. So I'm going to rely on him to put all the decent comments up and some shit ones as well. Aaron, even Stel, would you take Callum Wilson? No, in all honesty. I think he could be what we need. Think he will do a job for a couple of seasons. Very good goal. The reason why I wouldn't is because we've already got quite an aged squad. Maybe I'm cutting my nose off to spite my face, and the nose is pretty big. But we've got quite an aged squad, an old squad. We get Callum Wilson in for a couple of seasons. There's another one on top of all the 30-year-olds, 32-year-olds, etc. that we've got at the club. He's not injury free as well. As he gets older, he'll get more injuries. I would fear. I think you're right. I think, if he was fit, etc., he can get us some goals. But I would fear we'll find ourselves with another Antonio where they'll be joining each other on the treatment table at the club and not getting either of them on the pitch. So, no, to be quite honest with you, if we're going to get a striker, let's go out and get ourselves a young, decent, hungry striker who can play in Moyes' system. Or, Callum Wilson. The problem we've had so many years at West Ham United is continuous quick fixes. We get a player in for a quick fix and then we get screwed over for it because the player's a bit too old or the player's injury prone. And the number of players that we've had like that have just like let us down because they'll come in and they'll score a goal or two and everyone will cheer. And then like, where's he gone? Oh, yeah, he's injured. So for that, no. I get it. I get why you think he'll be able to provide what we need, but for how long? We've got someone just mentioned. We've got Zuma, who's having problems even walking, let alone running. We've got an aged squad, and I just wouldn't want to add to that, to be honest with you. Hammer it. FFP is screwing clubs big time. What an advantage we could have had by signing a few decent players to get ahead of this window. I'm not too disappointed, to be honest with you, Hammerette. I think I get what you mean. But we were never going to go big in this transfer window. It was always going to be 2 players. If we get 3, I'll be really surprised. But we were always going to get about 2 players, and that would have been it. I don't think we would have been looking at getting any more than that in. And it is a difficult window. You look at some of the players that are available. They're not necessarily, when you sort of look at what's around, either the players that we really want are really, really expensive, or they're not available, or we end up getting players in that we kind of like just filling the gaps. Callum Wilson, for example, could do a really good job for the rest of this season, but we sign him on, say, a 2-year deal. He might do a good job now, and then we might not see him again. We'll see him sporadically because of injuries thereafter. Trini, I wasn't going to talk about Luzal, but I don't think it's him wanting out. I think his agents want him to go. I think they think that he's come to West Ham United. It's a little bit like the Osman deal. Mind you, he costs nothing like what Norgeland is asking for Osman, but he's the sort of player that there was quite a lot of speculation about him. He came from Brazil. He came into and went straight into the under-21s, and I think his agents were kind of thinking that he was maybe going to get into the senior team by now, but that hasn't materialized. And I think they're looking to sort of say, well, look, rather than him languishing in the under-21s, let's just have him back. Let's just send him out elsewhere, is what I understand. Sammy, why did Alvarez not in the Sheffield game? He was injured. He had a calf injury. Bill, just check. Premier League clubs are only allowed to register 2 loan players. Thank you for that. Howard, I love the West Ham network, but they take the approach that they will mention every player and his dog so they can't be caught out. I used to do that, and it used to take me an awful long time, and I won't do it anymore. It's pointless because I'll be fooling you. I'll be spending shitloads of time researching all these players, and there is no point. We really need Schmeichel, another centre-back, right back, to be honest. Zuma always looks like he's playing with an injury. He absolutely does. Garino, Paqueta stuff being put back may be advantageous to us because Man City may get done by then. That's a really good point. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, totally agree with that. City Solar, good evening to you. So who at West Ham was dealing... who at West Ham was dealing with the wrong agent? Well, take your pick. It's either Sullivan or it's Steiden or it's Moyes. And I would imagine probably Sullivan. But I don't think we were dealing with the wrong agent. It's just a rogue agent came along and apparently said, I'm this player's agent. I'm Osman's agent. Here are the papers. And so I don't think we were actually dealing with him. It's like this agent turned up and went, there you go. I'm his agent. Let's do the deal. Oh, dear. Jolino, good evening to you. Of your two choices for pronouncing Jota, you picked the wrong one. It's soft J. So Jota, not Jota. Jota. Thank you. I appreciate you correcting me on that. Kevin, hello, mate. I hope you're well. Hope you well. I'm glad you got over that. I did indeed. Make it happen. I hope you're well. Porn star. I'm not berserk. It's what other people are saying. Trini, all teams are going to have to match their outgoings with their incomes. Will there be any clubs who can afford £100 million for a player? That's a really good question. You know, maybe comes the day, you know, the day all these silly transfer deals are coming to an end, because finally, financial fair play is finally getting its teeth put in, because we're still waiting, aren't we, though? You know, they've gone for the low-hanging fruit for Everton and teams like that. We're waiting for the big boys now, aren't we? We're waiting for them to go gunning against Arsenal, Man City, Chelsea. When's it going to happen? Infamy. Okay, hear me out. Let's bring back Big Sam until the end of the season. I've heard you. I'm not listening. David. Two issues here. West Ham not only were dealing with the wrong agent, but also not knowing that Jota were earning Well, I don't know how they couldn't know they were earning 200 grand a week, because I talked about Jota, I think about 3 weeks ago, and I knew he was earning 200 grand a week just by reading his details. You know, you can go online and you can look at players' salaries, and you can look at all player details, scouting details, and all this, you know, all that stuff. It wasn't any secret. So all the scouting on the player for a long time without knowing info, that surprises me. That makes me wonder who's coming out with that if they didn't know. That would have been one of the first things you would know about. What's your contract at the moment? I'm surprised. I think that's a little bit of a red herring. They would have known. Ray, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Jolino, Jota, thank you. Done that already. Amit, sorry, Andy, sorry. This has to be the quietest window in a long time, as most clubs are putting fringe players out on loan. It is quiet. It's not just us. And I know Hammerette, what she said earlier on about, disappointed that we haven't taken advantage of this window when all the other clubs have got FFP hanging over their heads. You know, we're not that far from it. Let's not look. Let's be realistic. You know, we're okay in Premier League FFP, but we're a lot closer to the margin on European. And given that we're playing in Europe, we're a lot closer to that. So I'm not surprised that a lot of clubs are not doing business. They're shitting themselves, and rightly so, for having spent too much too quickly without sort of covering all those costs. Ironics. We don't need a striker above some other positions. First team, right back should be first. There's so many positions you could argue that you really need. You know, we need a backup left back for Emerson. We need a right back. I totally agree. We do need another centre back. If I had my way, I'd have another keeper, at least a backup keeper. But we've got Fabianski extended a contract for another year. We need a left-sided attacking player. We need a striker. We need what? That's 1, 2, 3. That's about 6 positions already. John, I hope you're well, mate. How are you? Can I get a straight answer to what the hell is going on? I'll give it a try. Jota, is he gay, or is it the tax bill that's stopping him? You can't ask things like that. Who is the fake agent in Sully's ear with Osman? Well, it's what do I say? Well, we all know that an advisor to the board has talked about the Osman deal and has warned them against it. It seems now, whether we like it or not, that advisor is actually right. And then there's this agent. I can't remember the name. There was an agent that turned up who apparently I think he was the agent of the player, and since was, no longer the agent, but still believes he is the agent. You work that out. So there's been a few people in Sullivan's ear. There's been a few shenanigans going on over in Denmark with two different agents suggesting that they are the agent of the player. And it's all odd. And this tax bill, someone, I think Garino said it earlier on. I didn't know that about Jota coming, and he may have to pay quite a hefty amount on tax. Yeah, that could be a bit of a deal breaker, that, to be honest with you. Hammerit, read that Moyes said deadline day transfers are extremely difficult because we have a game. It's a huge surprise this 1st of February fixture has been dropped on us. It's his excuse, isn't it? He said the same thing about the first game of the January transfer window. You're playing on that day and you get your deals done. It's got nothing to do. If you've got players in mind and you're going to go for them, you're going to put deals in and everything in place well before you play a game. And the fact that we can actually register the transfer forms by 11 o'clock and then still complete the deal after that, he's talking bollocks. Mark, this is the first transfer window for 2 years that we haven't been linked with Jesse Lingard. Oh, I better take that. I might. Although he was seen at the training ground recently. He's been training with Fornals over in Dubai as well, or somewhere like that. Daniela, did Reed Phillips have said he would often join us if City did not come in for him? Yes, he did. He did say that he would have joined us 2 years ago. James, good evening to you, mate. I think I read Spuds were looking at Jota. Sign him, say definitely needs to lose the tash. Interestingly, James, they're even in for Ibrahim Osman as well. So, look, I actually think Jota will go. I think Jota will be bought or loaned by a team, and I think it will be a Premier League team. And I think by the way it sounds at this moment in time, we're leading the race for him. So let's see what happens. But that's my understanding, is that we're leading the race to sign him. They can have Ibrahim Osman and his fake agent. Dean, can you see DM leaving out TS? Not sure where KF fills in. No, I can't see. Look, this is the other thing, isn't it? We love rumors. We love conspiracy theories that all of a sudden David Moyes is leaving out TS for sure. Where KF? Oh, you're talking about. Sorry, I thought you were talking about Tim Steiden. No, I can't. I can't see Moyes leaving the player out. I think Alvarez. I think you meant Alvarez, didn't you? Or TS? Who's TS? I don't think Alvarez will be left out of the team just because Kevin Phillips fills in. Is that what you're asking? You're gonna have to. Yeah, Kevin Phillips. I thought Calvin Phillips. Yeah, I thought you were. Fred, January transfer window, well underwhelming. Yeah, they should get rid of it, as was said earlier on. Path. I'm excited at the prospect of Alvarez and Phillips side by side with Paqueta, Kudus, and Bowen in front of Prowse. So am I. And it's got to be, isn't it? It's got to be. Charles. That's a big problem for years. We always had an aging squad, keeping players for too long. I totally agree, which is why, with the greatest of respect, I don't want Wilson. Maybe, yes, he can do a job for us. Maybe with the goals that he might be able to get, might guarantee us European football again. And then what? Bring him on loan. You know what? I'd go for Callum Wilson on loan, but Newcastle don't want to do that, do they? Because, they've got their own problems financially as well. Thank you, Daniela. It is a good roaming nose there. James, maybe no January window means your academy players are actually used. Spot on. That's a really good point. If teams have injuries, etc., and instead of having to look at the January transfer window, we all start using our academy players. I totally agree with that. There's a lot to be said about not having a January transfer window. David, Alvarez is one of our 5 best players. If he gets dropped, even the Moyes in will be angry. I will. There'll be absolutely no need for it. And I think it's rumor mongering. I don't remember which journalist suggested that this was what's going to happen. It's part of shit. Why would you drop Alvarez? He's transformed. I said it from the beginning. He's transformed West Ham this season in the way he's played. We've really, really needed a player that can take control of that midfield, and he's done just that. Why would you drop him? Yes, have two there, and there'll be some games you may not need to. I get that, but there'll be some games where where you want to do the defending, etc. And then sort of I talked about this last week. You have Phillips and Alvarez in front of a back four. You've got a solid six there, which means that not all your players have to drop deep. Look what happens when we lose the ball at the moment. When we lose the ball, all 11 players drop behind the ball. And then when we break, when we get the ball, what do? We hoof it away, and there's no one there to hoof it to. Whereas with Alvarez and Phillips there, all of a sudden, you've got a more solid sort of defensive setup, and then you can leave one or two players hanging a bit further forward. Kudus, Paqueta, Kudus, Bowen, or whoever it may be. So when you get the ball, and then you've got someone like Phillips who's got a good passing range to release the ball, you've got someone that can pick it up. I said this last week. It's a similar way to the way we played a couple of years ago when we had Lingard. When we had Lingard here, Lingard didn't always get behind the ball. He was always just hanging out a little bit further forward than from everyone else. When we broke and we got the ball, it was off to Lingard, and off he went, to cause havoc. And we had that with Yarmolenko. Do you remember? I said this all last week. Do you remember the game against Chelsea when we were under relegation threat? And Yarmolenko scored that superb goal. That I think it went to. I can't remember who it went to. It was. Doesn't matter. Went to one player. That player passed it to Yarmolenko. Yarmolenko ran almost half the length of the field and scored that goal against Chelsea when we beat him 3-2. That style of play works, and it's exciting as well. So I think with Phillips and Alvarez in the team, I think we'll be able to do that. We'll be able to leave one or two players hanging further forward so that when we get the ball, we've got an outlet rather than just hoofing it away and then back it comes, and hoofing it away and back it comes again. So I agree. I'm excited by that as well. That was a long answer, wasn't it? John, good evening to you. Is Best League Jota played in Scottish League? If so, why does he cost so much? Well, he's only around 25 to 30 million pounds, which in this day and age isn't that much, to be quite honest with you. If a Danish club are asking for 18 to 20 million for an unproven 19-year-old, I think 25 to 30 million for Jota isn't that bad, to be honest. Montana, hello, mate. Any news on when Kudus will be back with the team? Going to have to listen out and wait and see. Steve, Premier League club is allowed to register a maximum of 2 players on loan at any one time. Additionally, the maximum number of loan registrable in the same season is 4, which means it won't surprise me at all if we get 2 loan players in. We've got 1 already, 1 more, and I think we're done. Scott, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. That's going to be interesting, actually, because I've got 2 players in my mind when I get to the transfer windows. One of them's going to... I'll get to that in a minute. Garino, Jota needs to keep the tash. On corners, he can twist one end while looking intently into the eye of the defender to unsettle them. You started early. Ashley, how are you, mate? Who's this striker Moyes is after? He's scoring for fun in Korea. Excuse me. Infamy. Is the stadium drama still ongoing? It will be forever, mate. Is the club going to be booted out? No, it's not. Will we need to find a stadium player? No, we won't. Simple as that. Look, yes, the stadium is starting to need repairs. Yes, LLDC can't afford it. I think there'll be a deal done. I said this again last week or the week before, where I think they'll either go cap in hand to the Mayor of London and he'll tell them where to stick it, or West Ham United will do a little deal, fix the stadium and get a little sweetener back. Look, West Ham want to run the operational side of the stadium. We want to run the catering and all that sort of stuff. We don't want to own it. It'll cost us too much money. But I reckon it'll come to a point where maybe West Ham and LLDC might come to an agreement on how to run the stadium going forward. No, our deal at the stadium is cast iron. Even if someone else buys the stadium, they can't get us out of the contract that we're in. It's absolutely cast iron. Well, they could say the stadium's in disrepair and close it down. That's another matter. Rowe and Clark aren't doing anything spectacular. They're nothing special, just like the kid from Bristol City last year. Yeah, but as you see, stories came out, for both of those players, and now it's all gone quiet again. And apparently, Clark, what club? overseas apparently are interested in him. I read a story today that some Italian club or Spanish club are interested in him. There you go. Toha. Van Dijk is hinting that he will leave when Klopp goes. Moyes will fancy him. Right age group with an injury history. I'd take him, wouldn't you? He can run faster than Zuma can. Jason, good evening to you. Rowe over Osman for me, Stel. English player as well for the rules. Yeah, look. Osman to me, when the Osman story first came out, I said this doesn't sound right. There's something not quite right about this deal, and I don't get it. I don't get why we're looking at paying £15 million for an unproven 19-year-old player, and everyone was hanging on, because he comes from the same academy as Kudus, the Ghanaian player, etc. And this is what they do. They go abroad, they go to Danish clubs, etc., and then they go to other clubs in Europe, and then they go for big money. Bit like what Kudus is doing at the moment. And I think people got carried away with that. The second, an incarnate of Kudus and all that sort of stuff. But there was something in the back of my mind that was saying, when we need players for the here and now, in order to boost our squad, and we're releasing players, you think about that. We're letting, we'll take bids for Benrahma, we'll take bids for Fornals and players like that. Why would we go out and get a player 15 million that's not likely to play in the first team this season, who isn't really proven? So I agree with you. Rowe, I think he's decent. Could he do a job? I think I'm getting similar to Osman, not quite as bad as Osman. I think Rowe, it's a step up, could possibly do it. But I think Moyes is looking for something a little bit more proven, to be honest with you. Let me scroll down so I can actually get on with the show. How far behind am I? Not bad. Let me try and catch up. Clive has disappeared from the background, so I don't know what's happened there. Steve, Stell, if we sign Jota, don't shave your bid off, or West Ham fans could mistake you for Jota's... Don't shave your beard off, or West Ham fans could mistake you for Jota's health post. Charles, only benefit if we sign Wilson. He can't score against us unless it was an own goal. El Chico, Cornet being linked to Forest on loan now on Twitter. Good Lord. Is he? Right. If one of our players goes, I know Fornals is apparently close to leaving, and I said I was surprised last week. I thought that a deal for him to leave won't be until the summertime. But if Cornet is being linked elsewhere, it means we've got something in the pipeline, and it could be on Jota, Reese. David M. Is 3 players coming? Already got Phillips? No, I meant 3 in total. It ain't going to be Osman. See, I might as well close the show now. Phillips, Jota, and Chalobah. Yeah, Will. Osman, however, has broken out of his African academy and been a standout performer in a different country in a totally different league. Don't disagree with any of that, but there's still something not quite right about the whole deal, to be honest with you. Gary, and it's a massive step. Danish football to Premier League football. It's a massive step up. Gary, hello, mate. My worry regarding Jota is that Big Ange isn't interested. Postecoglou. Apparently he is. Apparently there is an interest in him. Apparently they're interested in Osman, in Jota as well. Jason, Wilson on loan till summer. View to buy and then say no. Get a few goals. So long as it's not an obligation to buy. Look, a loan until the summer? Yeah. To buy him outright, I'd rather not. Montana. I was feeling sad for the Premier League after the Klopp news, but I remember when they were mid-table fodder, they deserve all they will get. Still, is there any rumour in... I talked about Sugawara a couple of times last week and the week before. A couple of players. There was the Korean right back and then Sugawara as well. I've heard nothing since. So I'm going to say no truth in it. Maybe the summer, but not now. Hammer it. Looked into Borja still again today, and thank fuck Ajax hijacked our deal for him. 2 goals in 26. Then we get Kudus, 12 in 26. There you go. Sometimes the grass isn't always greener. Old man, so apparently Newcastle are losing 200k a day. Well, they're fucked, aren't they? FFP, here they come. Jason, Will Doyle to Will Doyle, sorry. Championship Row is a harder level than what Osman is playing league level at. Don't get that. I've seen Row play. I think Osman seems to be too much money. I can virtually guarantee we're not doing an Osman deal. I think we can all now disclude that from our itinerary. And you're still, even this evening, I saw that the latest Osman deal was still in for him. And I thought, you know what? That's a dead, it's dead. It's finished. That ain't going to happen, that deal. Usual. His agent is Nigerian who can't get to his money at the moment. I don't know if you're joking or if that's actually serious, to be honest with you. Garino. Osman appointed the rogue agent, but he's not registered with the Danish FA. Real agent took legal action against him before Christmas. All sounds a bit dodgy. £7 million is at stake in commission fees. That's why they're asking for 18 million pounds for him, because they're going to have to pay someone £7 million in fees. The minute we hear that shit, we just walk away. Obsidian. He changed agents, but still contracted to the first, like getting remarried without getting a divorce. Good Lord. Do you think Sullivan will sell up or pass it on to his son? Sullivan ain't going to sell up. More likely he'll pass it on to his son. Good evening, by the way, to you as well, Obsidian. Jason, good evening to you. All opinions, Will, but I'm pro-Row. But as long as we do well, I'm happy. Look, it'd be nice to get another championship player, a bit like his name's gone, Bowen, and hope he sort of smashed it the way Bowen has done. I'm sure Rowe has got a future ahead of him, but it's the here and now. It's the here and now. Can someone like Rowe, Osman, I'm discounting completely. Can someone like Rowe come into this team right now, or even Jack Clark for Sunderland, and actually do a job for West Ham United? I think that's the important thing. What we need in this transfer window are players that are going to come in and have an immediate impact. I can see Phillips doing that. Can I see Rowe doing it? I'm not sure. Possibly. Rani. So pleased West Ham is no longer a circus, and we've got a true professional in to identify and negotiate with players now, he says with a little grin. Keith, where do you stand on Callum Wilson? Tim. Jota's wages are not the issue in the tax rule regarding earnings abroad. That's the issue. Jota's wages are not the issue. It's the tax rule regarding earnings abroad. That's the issue. Yeah, I think Garino mentioned that earlier on. Black Country, still, big breaking news. Masuaku coming back on an 8-year deal. Shoot me now. Jason, and even all with the FFP rules, do we really need mega owners? Just better business sense? I think you're right. The second part of that, to be honest with you, Jason, mega owners make no difference. When Newcastle were bought out, the Newcastle fans were going, it's going to be great. We're going to buy everybody. Well, you can't buy everybody because you've got to be within the boundaries of your business. You're absolutely spot on the second part of that. It's better business sense. And that's another reason why Steining's been brought into the club, because we kept squandering our transfer money over the years. We've been really bad at buying players, and that's a lot to do with David Sullivan. David Sullivan has been awful at buying players over the years. And the idea of Steinen coming in is to balance it out a little bit more, have a little bit more of a balance. So you're spot on. It's to do with better business sense. Spend money as little as you can for as good as you can get, and then sell big. And that's what we're going to do, and I get the reason about Osman, in the business way, why maybe we may have wanted him, get him in for 15 mil. He might be the next Kudus. We're selling for 40, 45, 50 million pounds, in a year or two. I get that business sense, but the whole thing that's surrounding it just doesn't boat. If we went in for Osman in the summer, when we bought another 2 or 3 players to strengthen the squad, I'd say, yeah, I get it. I get it because of the business sense of it. If he does become as good as Kudus, then we can get a lot of money back for him, off him, sorry. But it's the now, it's the January window that I don't understand, and it doesn't make sense. I get it if it was summer, but I don't get it when we know we're only getting maybe 2, 3 at maximum players through the door for this January window. The whole Osman thing just doesn't make sense at all. Keith, is it a sign that all clubs are getting the same skill levels, so the choice of players is diminishing? Yeah, it's getting to be, isn't it balancing out? Isn't that the whole idea of FFP? That you try and sort of get the teams that don't have as much in order to, isn't it? I don't know. So that these clubs can't go spending willy-nilly the way they have been. Getting the same skill levels, so the choice of players diminishing? Possibly, yeah. GJ, good evening to you. Still, I've been feeling pretty low today, but I see you on YouTube and your nice nature has lifted. Thank you. Really much appreciated. Sorry to hear that you're feeling low, but keep with it, mate. I don't know what's going on in your life, but I wish you all the best, mate. Montana, this Jota guy is good, especially with the defense paying more attention to Bowen and Kudus. I'm dying to get to the detail. I've got to get through your comments before I get to the detail. Ray, I'm looking forward to George Michael linking up with Pepsi and Shirley, Kudus and Bowen. Path, Antonio best not drop a show. This usually happens at the end of the show, not like 50 minutes in. Obsidian, Moyes was going to use him as a false winger, so he might as well have a false agent. I love it. John, watch Jota go to Ajax like Henderson. He's better off getting stoned in Amsterdam than in Saudi. Oh, you can't say things like that, mate. And I'm stupid for having read it out. Anthos, mate. Even so, there was me thinking we weren't run by clowns anymore. How wrong was I? How on earth could we be dealing with the wrong agent? I don't think it was us. I think this agent just turned up. I don't actually think we were dealing with the agent. This agent just showed up and went, here's the papers for the player. I want my money. I don't actually think we were dealing with him. I don't know if that, I think that bit's been misunderstood. We weren't actually dealing with him. He just cropped out of nowhere and went, I'm the player's agent. It's like me turning up and going, I'm, Kudus's agent. Really, I am. Hammers Mikey, how are you, mate? I hope you're well. Jota is successor to Batman, no chance. He's a good player. I've seen him play a few times up here when at Celtic, but he ain't world class. Would do a job for us, though. Fast, feet, and quick on the turn. Yeah, good point. Mike WHU, good evening to you. So looks like I said no transfers is on track for January. Well, we've had one. We may get another, maybe three. Who knows? Trini, I think it's odd that people automatically assume Souček will be dropped when Phillips joins. It could be JWP. He has been very unproductive recently. Good shout. Yeah, good shout. GJ, it's not fair to Osman. He will be heartbroken. Money is the root of all evil. That agent is prepared to ruin that poor boy's dream, the worst of humanity. Actually, you know what? That's a really good point. That's a really good, serious point. Amongst all this shit, there's a young footballer who wants to make it big in the world, who wants to get that big deal, who wants to be earning good money, etc., etc. We've kind of forgotten that. That poor lad, maybe was badly advised, which is probably why he's got a rogue agent now. He's been badly advised along the way. And don't a lot of players get badly advised? We know they do, when they're that sort of age. You're absolutely right. That's a really, really good, serious point. Infamy. Jota looks like Orlando Bloom's stunt double on an extra from that Three Musketeers movie. Garino, Steiden, not happy with Phillips' signing as he was away and getting fed up with the power struggle behind the scenes. Same story as last year. Sounds like someone is stirring. I reckon that someone is stirring is people who want to stir that there's a problem when there really isn't. I don't believe for a minute that Steiden is not happy with the Phillips signing, because my understanding is, and I think I said this in the summer as well, Moyes and Steiden, whether we want to believe it or not, and I know there's a lot of people that don't want to believe it because they'd much rather rumour monger than actually get to find the real truth. But my understanding is that they're working alongside each other. That's why we got the deals that we did in the summer. You look at what we got in the summer, we got a mix of players. If Moyes was really stubborn, I genuinely think we wouldn't have got Alvarez. We wouldn't have got Kudus. But Steinen has proved that they're good players. He's got a good eye for talent, and we got them in. He closed the deal on those players. But Moyes got JWP in. More, just like now, Moyes has got Phillips in. And I dare say we will get another player, possibly two, and one of them will have a Steiden's trademark written all over it. I don't believe. I really, how long have we got? Did we go through last year, all of last season, when all we kept hearing? No, I fell for it. I did shows. about Steiden and Moyes being at loggerheads and not agreeing with each other, and it's going to tear the club apart and all that sort of stuff. I fell for it, but if you look carefully at what happened in the summer and you looked at the transfers and you said I was saying to myself, they're working in tandem. Maybe they don't agree with every single signing. No, they probably don't. But it's good to have a difference of opinion, isn't it? Isn't that the whole thing about debating, and getting together and saying, what do we need? Oh, we need a defender, we need a midfielder, we need a striker, we need whatever. Okay, what about these? Yeah, let's look at that one. Let's look at this one. I'm not interested in this one. And Steiden will come in and as I said in the summertime, Steiden would have gone. Steiden's not stupid. He hasn't come in thinking he's going to change the world. When you've got a manager, he would have known about David Moyes and about how David Moyes operates, and I think Steiden would have come in and gone, all right, David, what do you want? I need a midfielder. Okay, what sort of style of midfielder? I need this sort of style. Okay, here are the list. Well, let's try these ones. Let's talk about trying to sign this one or this one. I think that's how it's working. I don't think for a minute that Steiden would have been upset just because he was away at the Asia tournament or wherever he was, that all of a sudden, Moyes has got the opportunity. Quick, let's get Phillips in before Steiden comes back. Bullshit. They're communicating on a regular basis. They don't have to be standing next to each other to be communicating. And I don't believe that there's this whole issue between Steiden and Moyes. I think people would like us to believe that. Because it stirs the shit pot, for look how shit the club is. Moyes out because he can't get on with Steiden. I don't believe it, to be honest. I could be wrong, but I don't believe it. Sorry, Garino. I wasn't having a go at you, mate. It was just that responding to the point. Fred, Klopp leaving Scousers. Bosch's any chance of getting Alonso? Now that I agree with. And I did mention that. Did I do a show? No, I didn't get time. Gelino, according to Ben Jacobs, Saudi sources say Jota's wages are close to 190. Yes, 190, 200. Who gives a damn about 10K? But that's what I understand it to be. But I don't know if it's, if that's a straight wage, because we talk about our players and everyone keeps going on about certain players getting 125 ings on 125 grand a week and this player on 140 grand a week, etc. Most of the wages are a base rate of, I think for West Ham, that the highest base is 100 grand. And then the rest of it, the 25 grand, etc., is made up of bonuses. Now, I don't know if in Saudi it's the same. This player has not played any league games apart from the first few weeks of the season, when they kept signing foreign players and then they realised that they didn't actually register him. How can you not register your player? But anyway, it could be that he might be on a base rate and then bonuses to bring it to 190, 200 grand a week. But I don't know. Andy, that earlier question still referred to Moyes dropping Souček, the undroppable for Calvin Phillips, or will he drop Alvarez or Ward-Prowse? Well, interesting. Someone mentioned about Ward-Prowse. It could be we've got problems. I've said this before. It could be we've got problems in defence. Alvarez might be put in defence for all we know. In order to cover, Zuma's knees have gone, etc., etc. It could be that Alvarez drops in defence for a while. Moyes might decide to go with a three at the backs, three centre backs. Alvarez may fit into that with Phillips in the front. But if it's the two in the middle, Calvin Phillips and Alvarez, I think the more likely it will be between Souček or Ward-Prowse that he might drop and rotate. Well, drop. I don't want to use the word drop. Rotate. More rotate than anything else. Right. I'm going to stop there so I can actually do other parts of the show because we've got lots to talk about. So let's stop that there. Right. A bit of roundup news. So I'll be quick and then we'll go back to transfers because I know that's what you're all interested in and I totally get it. So first of all, last week the women's team were knocked out in the Women's League Cup when they lost 2-1 to Birmingham City. That was the 12th game in a row when they had not won a game in any competition. In fact, the last time they won a game was back in October when they beat Charlton in the same competition 2-1. So going into the weekend's fixtures against bottom of the league Bristol City was a big 6-pointer. Honoka Hayashi got Rayanne Skinner's side off to a perfect start when she drilled home from the edge of the area on 13 minutes. Former West Ham player Amelie Thestrop struck to make it 1-1, but we were more aggressive in the play, and we finally won a game. We beat the bottom of the league club, Bristol City, and we're now 3 points clear of them and just 3 points behind Everton and Brighton with 10 games remaining in the league. Rehan Skinner, she almost relegated Tottenham when she was manager of that club last season. She'll end up relegating West Ham instead. What about the under-21s? So the under-21s were in action at the weekend. This is after Gideon Kodua and Callum Marshall have both gone out on loan. You'd think they might have been affected by that, but not one bit. Sean Moore got his first Premier League 2 goal for West Ham United to stretch a league-winning run to 6 games following a 3-1 victory over Stoke City on Friday night. The Republic of Ireland Youth International first goal was rifled in the top corner with his weaker right foot, opened the scoring with 38 minutes played. In a busy second half, Kamari Swire and George Earthy found the net as well, having stretched now a league unbeaten run to 11 games. Thanks to the hard-fought victory. The under-21s now sit second in the league, having taken 29 points from their first 12 fixtures. They're back on a roll. And what a system we've got. And this is the way it should be. It should be with any team, whether it be the academy teams or the senior squad, etc. You should be able to have players leaving, players coming, going, etc. And it shouldn't affect the way we play. Well done to them. You know, we've got Freddie Potts, one of the better under-21 players on loan. Kodua now on loan. Callum Marshall on loan. We've got Mbama who's moved up to the senior team. With those 4 key players, you'd think that they'd be suffering, but they're not. They're a really good unit, the under-21s, and well done to them. The under-18s were in action as well at the weekend. They've gone straight back up to the Premier League, the under-18s Premier League, league leaders. And they played against Reading in a 3-0 win. Josh Ajala Brace took his season tally in the league to 6 goals. And they responded well to their disappointment in the FA Youth Cup last time out. Now, consecutive league wins to the start of 2024 has now seen the under-18s leapfrog Tottenham Hotspur with their 12 games played to their North London rivals who have played 1 game less. So well done to them. They're back on top of that league, and they're going to be back in action at the weekend against Man City again in the Premier League Cup quarter-final on the 3rd of February. So I hope they get revenge over Man City. For those of you who may have been aware, they felt hard done by, and rightly so, against Man City in the FA Youth Cup, where a contentious penalty was given and that lost them the game. Right. What about a bit of AFCON? Well, there's only one player left, and that's Naif Agurd, whose side faced South Africa in the knockout stages of the AFCON on Tuesday evening. Morocco are firm favourites to beat South Africa with 2 wins and a draw under their belt in the group stages. And despite South Africa, despite beating Namibia 4-0, that was the only win that they had. So it looks like Agurd could be going all the way in the AFCON. What about some player news? What about injuries, first of all? Well, someone asked a little bit earlier on. Lucas Paqueta and mohammedkudus could both be back for the game against Bournemouth this coming Thursday. Yes, you heard it. Come on, West Ham. I mean, having these 2 back, you know, and Bowen, like, he was a bit rusty for the game, the last game he came out, you know, Phillips in the side as well. I mean, people, you know, I don't want to say we're going to smash Bournemouth, but we're going to smash Bournemouth on Thursday if both Kudus and Paqueta are back. They're going to be all right. They'll be a bit rusty. They haven't played for, Paqueta hasn't played for a month, but Kudus will back chomping at the bit after his disappointment with Ghana in the AFCON. So it looks like Kudus is definitely back. It looks like whatever knock he carried is not serious. And Paqueta, we know, has been doing training in the gym, etc. Paqueta could possibly be back on the bench. You know, let's not get ahead of ourselves. He might be back on the bench, but he, you know, being available and coming off the bench would be fantastic. Alvarez, well, we know he tried to look at him. He tried to shin Phillips in training the other day. He had a calf injury, which is why he missed the last game against Sheffield United, but he's back as well. So that's great news. The fact that we're getting our players back all at the right time. The only player left at the moment now is a Gerd on AFCON and Antonio, who is out, still out injured. But with Bowen back, Paqueta back, Kudus back, Alvarez back, Phillips in the team. Who needs a defence? We do. Right. What about some other news? Contracts. Well, Divin Mubama, apparently the contract talks started again last week, but still have not been sorted out. Now, I didn't know this. I thought his contract ended at the end of this season. But out of the blue, all of a sudden, we've got an option to extend it for another year. And I checked it and double checked it, and that is correct. I am a bit surprised. I really thought that was it. If he didn't sign a contract at the end of this summer, at the end of this season, he'd be gone. But it looks as if we can trigger a year extension on his contract. What I think will happen, to be quite honest with you, and I'm going to get onto the player that we have signed an extended contract with. What I think will happen, if we don't agree a deal with Mubama by the time this season ends, we will extend the contract and then we'll sell him, which will be a damn shame. But that's what is likely to happen. So maybe he should follow in the footsteps of Callum Marshall, who signed an extended deal with West Ham United till 2027. So at this moment in time, he'll be at the club until he's 23. And let's hope with the loan deal, maybe there'll be one or two loan deals that are happening for him. He'll then be ready to come and smash it, and we can sign him on a longer term contract. As we know, he was immediately loaned out to West Bromwich Albion, which is exactly what we wanted to do with Mubama. We wanted to secure a long-term deal with him and then send him out on loan. That hasn't happened. But Callum Marshall, that has happened. He signed an extended deal. He immediately went out to West Brom. He wasn't eligible for the cup tie between West Brom and Wolves at the weekend, which was, as you know, was marred by crowd trouble. But there's hopes that he will be available or will be selected or even on the bench for the game against Birmingham City this weekend. It's the measure and the caliber of this young lad that a promotion-chasing championship side have asked to bring him on loan. I think it speaks volumes. You know, we always have a bit of an issue when we send players out, young players out on loan. You know, I don't think there's anything wrong with it because at least they get game time. But sending them to League One or League Two clubs, yeah, great. But sometimes we send them out to clubs down there in those leagues, and they don't even get enough game time. I think the only player at the moment that's getting proper game time is Freddie Potts in League One for Wycombe Wanderers. I'm really pleased for Callum Marshall. I hope he absolutely smashes it for West Brom. Imagine if he gets, 3 or 4 goals that will secure their place in the playoffs. That would be superb for him. Absolutely superb. Right. So let's go on to the loan news, shall we? Because we've got quite a few players out on loan. I've just mentioned him. Gideon Kodua. He made his senior league debut for Wycombe in the League One fixture against Wigan Athletic. With the game still goalless, Kodua was introduced as a sub. There was quite a long delay because of a big injury, and he was introduced in the first 23 minutes of added time. He replaced former academy player Kieran Sadlier, who joined fellow Irons loanee Freddie Potts on the pitch. So, these players are making a living. Some players do go off after the academy. They may not necessarily make it in the Premier League, but they are making a living out of football, which is good to hear. So he was on the pitch for Wycombe late on in the game, but unfortunately Wigan snatched a late winner. Wycombe are now 17th in the league table, 4 points above Reading. And then at the weekend, he came on against. He didn't come on against Fleetwood Town. The game ended 2-2, but Freddie Potts played the full 90 minutes in that game. And he is getting game time. He's getting a lot of game time, and he's doing extremely well at the club, which is what we want to hear. So I'm really, really pleased for him. I hope Kodua gets a decent amount of game time at Wycombe as well. Another player who's finally started to get a bit more game time is Keenan Apai-Forsan. He played the full 90 minutes for Dagenham and Redbridge last week, and I can't remember what team he played against, but they won 2-1 because I didn't write it down. And then at the weekend, he played another 88 minutes, and when his side fell 1-0 defeat to Kidderminster. Do you remember them, Kidderminster, the team that almost knocked us out of the cup? Yep. Another player, Christian Heggie, he had yet another clean sheet for his Dutch club, FC Den Bosch. Love the name Bosch. So another clean sheet for him. That's 3 games he's played now, and 2 clean sheets in those games. So really well done to him as well. He's a decent young goalie, Heggie. He's an under-21 international. He has been called into the senior Hungarian team, but he's not received the full cap just yet. But he's an interesting young goalie to look out for the future. Thilo Kehrer, as we know, is out on loan at Monaco, who played Marseille at the weekend. Monaco went down by 2 players. They were 9 against 11, but they managed to pull back 2 goals, and the game ended 2-2. And as I've already mentioned, Callum Marshall is out on loan at West Brom, and he could possibly get his debut this weekend against Birmingham City. So I'm going to go into the video. I'm going to go into more transfer news in just a moment. So let's do a few more of your comments, and we'll move on from there. Bill, now Russ of West Ham Network is DJ at under 21 games. He said today that Moyes actually at every game watching them. See, there you go. He is every game watching them. It's interesting. Martin, personally, I would love to see the January window go, but let's face it, it won't happen. Will it? Too many people making too much money out of it. I don't know. Not a lot of people are making that much, but I get your point. Anthos, even though Moyes is on the touchline, there's no way he watches the game, not with Souček in there. Mikey, gonna surprise everyone. Moyes is. JWP will be dropped and used as a late sub to try and sneak a late set piece with another goal fest of a game, or another shit fest of a game. Interesting. Yeah, that's possible. Do you know what? I don't like this thing about dropping. I think Moyes is going to mix it up. You know, I think he's going to look at games. I said earlier on, there are going to be some games where he will want 2 central defensive midfielders. There won't be every game that he'll want that. And I think he'll mix it up. Let's not forget also, Phillips is not just only a defensive midfielder. He can actually maraud forward. So you look at the players that we've got that go forward, you know, the Souček. It will be between Souček and Ward-Prowse, I think. You know, you're not going to drop Kudus. You're not going to drop Paqueta. You're not going to drop Bowen. So there'll be a mix there, won't there? And I think Moyes will kind of determine, you know, who might best fit certain games. James, Cornet needs a run of good games to get sold or get their money back. I agree. Maybe if we don't buy a left-sided player, maybe Cornet comes in and gets a bit more game time now. Toha, Moyes would have been at the Stoke game to keep an eye on Gale. Don't know. Interesting. Might have been. Let's scroll down. 50 pence. Good evening to you. Are you Moyes out? No, I've said that before. If so, would you take him leaving today if he gets a statue thrown? If so, would you take him leaving today if he gets a statue thrown in as part of the bargain? A statue? No, I've said this before. I'm Moyes neutral. You know, I'm neither in or out. He's currently our manager, so I support him. You know, do I like everything he does, all the decisions he makes? No, I don't. I think some of the decisions he makes sometimes leave you scratching your head. And other times you go, oh, well done. Just like the Ben Johnson thing when he played in midfield the other day. It's like, oh, that worked. Danny Ings, he played him as a number 10. Oh, that worked too. Will that work every time? Possibly not. But whilst he's our manager, I'll support him. And when he's gone, I'll thank him and then support the next manager coming in, Sam Allardyce. I want to support him. Anthos, the only striker Moyes gets if he starts is PS5 Hammerstad. Good, we've got top midfielders. Any drop in form and they're replaced. I think Souček and JWP will be replaced mostly. And do you remember what I said a few weeks back about, you know, are we a club yet that are able to have as good a player on the bench as we have out on the field? You know, and one of the problems that a lot of players that come to West Ham automatically assume they're going to be playing straight away. No, they're not thinking I'm going to West Ham and I might sit on the bench. They're thinking I'm going to West Ham because I'm going to play. And if they do get put on the bench, they're like, what's going on here? You know, if we aspire to keep up with the Joneses, as Moyes likes saying, and start, you know, keep on the shirt tails of the teams, you know, in European football, you know, 4th, 5th, 6th place, etc. We've got to be a team that's got a squad that's good enough on the bench as it is on the pitch. and by getting players. So that's why this whole thing about, Phillips comes in, who's going to be dropped? I don't think people are going to be dropped. I think it's going to be a rotation. You're absolutely right, Hammer's dad. I think if they drop in form, that's a different matter. They'll be taken out of the team. Someone else will be replaced. But look how many times we've said, our bench is weak. But even this summer, when we started off the season, we were patting ourselves on the back going, great squad. And all of a sudden, you're looking at the bench and going, oh, is what we've got on the bench as good as what's out there? By getting the likes of Phillips in and maybe one or two others who are on that level, the same level as the players that we've got, all of a sudden you do have choices, and that's where you can keep the momentum going, and keeping up there with the rest of these teams that we want to be part of that elite, don't we? It was once an elite 4, now it's an elite 6. We want to be part of that. We want to continuously be part of that. And to be continuously part of that, you need a really good squad. You need a squad of players that are not only good enough in the first 11, but also the ones who are on the bench. So it's rotation. I'd rather call it rotation than being dropped. Old man. With Paqueta being better in the air, I like to see him pushing forward to knock-ons, or his ball or through balls for Kudus and Bone to run onto. Good call. Let's scroll down. Trini, I think we look a little bit lightweight, not owning our stadium. Who does that? Man City don't own it. Have Man City bought theirs? They don't own their stadium, I don't think. But I don't think they've got the same problem as that we have. Dean, I really thought we had a strong bench at the beginning of the season, but just of late, I personally think it's very weak. I guess I'm being greedy with the first team. You're absolutely right, Dean. Because we all looked at the bench and we all said to ourselves, who we got on the bench? Okay, it's likely to be Cornet, likely to be Fornals, players like that. And you just thought that they would, the quality that Fornals has, and you would have expected him to maintain that quality when he came off the bench. Okay, there is the argument, and I get it, and I agree with it, that in order to keep the squad happy, you need to rotate them more. You need to be able to make sure that they're not coming on as bit part players that Moyes has done. But I just wonder whether it's in the back of Moyes' mind when he's looking at the first 11 and going, I've got Kudus, I've got Bowen, I've got Paqueta, I've got Alvarez. Right, I need to change it up. Let me have a look on the bench. Well, none of those players on the bench are as good as those players that are out there. So I'm going to have to keep those players on. Now, by having the likes of Phillips, and maybe we get another player in who is at the same level, Moyes will be able to look at the bench and go, I've got options. I now have got genuine options. Hammerit. Jota is experienced, should settle in far easier than Osman, could actually feature this season. Win-win. Garino, Scottish Premier League is just as physical, so Jota will be okay on that score. He is fast, direct, and knows where the goal is. Montana, still, where has the Chinese players' links gone to? Are we still signing a right back? It was Japanese and Korean, not Chinese, but okay. I'm not going to say I get you what you mean, because my missus is Chinese and she'll say, what, you're saying they're all the same? Lawrence, hello everyone from Lexington, Kentucky. Good evening to you, Lawrence, or good morning to you, or whatever time it is over there. Thank you for joining, mate. Much appreciated. I'm scrolling down, trying to get through the comments as best I can. Paf, Alvarez and Phillips will take pressure off our defence, show tenacity in front of defence. Phillips can pass well to set our front three going. Said that last week. Absolutely spot on. Absolutely spot on. It will take not only the pressure off our defense, but it will also take a little bit of the defending pressure off our attacking players. It's a win-win. It feels good. It's a win-win. Charles, just pull out of the Osman deal or end up like what happened when they signed Tevez. Absolutely, mate. Look, it ain't going to happen. I don't know what other stories are out there since I came on live about an hour and 20 minutes ago. But if you're still reading stories that we're going to sign Osman, I think you can start ignoring them, to be honest. Lee, thank you for reminding me. Look, people, there's 370 people watching. I don't know how many of you are subscribers. Please do subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything to subscribe. It will do the channel really good. I'll be really, really grateful. Hit the like button as well. That helps all the algorithms. And there's also a bell button, a bell notification button that lets you know when my next show is on. So if you like me droning on, you can hit the bell notification to let you know when I'm next going to drone on. Garino, no Stel, Osman, fee agreed with club 18 million euros, but the agents are asking for another 7 million to get the. Oh, I thought it was 18, including that. That's even worse. Let's just leave it to one side and forget about it. Peter, Sod's Law, we end up signing a player last minute who is joint owned by Tevez. 50 pence. No, it's 18 million. Yep, thank you. I didn't realize that. I thought it was 18 million all in. So thank you for correcting me on that. Brian, good evening to you, mate. I hope you're well. I hope we haven't wasted all this time and end up with no other signings. Phillips helps for sure, but not enough to get us back to Europe. I don't know, I don't know. It could be that one's. I want at least another player in, but you never know. That one signing may be enough. Schmiegel, Stein to come back on a jet with new signings. Sullivan to come back on a jet with dildos and blow up dolls. Anthony, good evening, mate. How are you? Hi, how things? Celtic fan. Good move for Jota. Monu Irons take it. Thank you very much, Anthony. Tell us a bit more. I've done some research on him, if you're still watching, by the way, and you might be able to tell me whether I got it right or wrong. So I'm going to get to that in a moment. But thank you for watching. Billy Bob, how are you, mate? I've gently correct. Thank you very much, mate. Much appreciated. A caress is always nice. Mikey, talking of Green Street hooligans, 19 years old this year. Anyone feel old yet? Clive, surely our history of large losses in players would screw us with FFP. I agree, better business sense is definitely the key. Peter, how far behind am I? Bloody hell, I'm really far behind. When the window shuts, we need to be working on getting 2 good, healthy centre-halves in the summer. I don't disagree at all with that. Andy, still, the Bergwijn interest over now, or could this happen this week? He didn't play for Ajax the other day. I didn't know that he didn't play for Ajax the other day, so maybe. But that's all gone quiet, isn't it? And sometimes that's not a bad thing. When the rumours go quiet, it possibly means that there's something going on. Garino, 370 watching. If we get 50 likes, we'll sign a left back. If we get 100, we'll sign a left winger. The choice is yours. I'm going to scroll down, so do forgive me. I'm going to have to miss quite a few to catch up. Epic, good evening to you, mate. Ibrahim Osman insists that an unregistered agent negotiates transfers, which isn't going to happen, so the deal is dead. Yeah, absolutely. Garino, Osman appointed the rogue agent, but the original agent still has a contract with him, as the changeover was not registered with the Danish FA. You said that earlier on. Epic, I imagine that the kind of stuff happens in African football all the time, but there's really no chance that we'd deliberately break the rules to sign this geezer. No, I agree. I don't think we would deliberately break the rules at all. I think we've been led astray somewhat. Garino, just posted on KUMB by a journo. All outgoings are on hold anyway, except loan deals for the under-21s. Phillips still a Moyes pick, but not the result of a disagreement. Yeah, said that earlier on. All other outgoings are on hold. Meaning that, and I said this last week, if one player leaves, it means one player's coming in. So if Fornals leaves, we've got someone lined up. If a defender leaves, we've got someone lined up, etc. At this moment in time, even Ben Rama, at this moment in time, if someone is going, it means that we've agreed for someone to come in. Good evening, Espen. How are you? Alvarez can do the main defensive job. Phillips can do more free going forward. Perfect. Absolutely correct. And that's a new name. I don't know if I've seen you before, but thank you for watching. Subscribe, mate. Matt, low block is boring. Yeah, I know, but it gets results. If Moyes gets a contract, I'll be avoiding wasting my time watching next season. Gentleman's bet that he and his boring arse style doesn't even keep us in 6th. Let's see what happens. I don't agree with the low block. Don't get me wrong. I'm not suggesting that's what I want to see. I do want to see a Flair playing West Ham United. But also, I think with someone like Phillips in, it will give us that option to, all right, he's a defensive midfielder. But as someone just said, his ability, his passing range is fantastic. His ability to move forward is also good. He can be that box-to-box. But also, it frees up our attackers. Peter. On another channel, people are still talking about Trot possibly coming back next season. He's 25 and never make it. Get rid. Well, I don't know. I mean, Trot, goalies start late, don't they? I mean, Heggie is 21, I believe. Trot is 25. But you are correct, to be honest with you. It will either happen for him next season or it won't happen at all. Certainly not at West Ham. Jolino, good evening to you. I'm Moyes' agent. Would you sign him to West Ham Voice on a free? Depends on what he wants to talk about. Trini, Stein and Moyes have professional working relationship. They don't have to be great friends too. Yeah, totally agree. Daniela, the news, the news it called West Ham Zone that I pushed for some of this crap about Moyes, Stein and the squad. Look. Let's be honest. If I ran a social media channel like, one of these like Hammers News or West Ham Zone and all that sort of stuff, I'd want people to read my stuff. Of course I would. And controversy sells. We know that. The more controversial you can make a story, the more responses you're going to get. It's the nature of the game. People don't want to hear the real news. They want to hear controversy. It's the world we live in, and football is no different. Trott is only 1 year younger than what Areola was when we got him on loan. Can't see him making it now, unfortunately. 1 year younger? No, Areola's 20. Areola's 30. We only got Areola when he was 27, 28. Oh, I don't know. Path. Keep Johnson. He lost his way before, then frozen out. He played well last game. He's played well the last few games, to be honest. But Zuma and Oggy need replacing. Shame as Zuma's legs are showing the damage. Very, very true. Let's scroll down. Do forgive me. Jolinho. Still, you keep misreading my post. I said it's a soft J and Jota. And Jota's on about half of 190k. So 95k. See, I don't know now. Someone else said 190. You're now suggesting it's 95. If it's closer to 95, I can definitely see a deal being done. Well, do you know what? I'm going to stop there, take a breather, have a drink of water, and do all the transfer news properly. Right. So let's start with Osman, of course. What else? So what I've been finding quite amusing about this transfer story is all the claims and the counterclaims that all the ITKs have been doing. They can't agree on what the real storyline is about this player. We keep hearing different story after different story. You've given me updates today. I didn't realize that it was 18 million plus another 7 million on top for agent fees, etc., etc. But when this story first broke out, I don't know, 3 weeks ago, something like that, I said back then, I'm not sure what's going on here. I'm not sure this Osman story rings true. There's something about it way before hearing all this, double agents and money and all that sort of stuff. Way before that, I started to think to myself, there's something not quite right about this Osman story. And the main reason being is what I said earlier on in the show, that what we're looking for in this transfer window is for players that will come in and have an impact now rather than players that are for the future. Now, I get it. Ibrahim Osman could be the next mohammedkudus. Absolutely. But, to actually think that he would come in and make a difference in this window would have surprised me immensely. I just couldn't see that. And that's why I thought right from the start, there's something not quite right about this story. Now, we could be kicking ourselves in a few years' time or in a year's time where, someone who might want to invest in the money that people are asking for Osman maybe quids in a few years' time, where they'll end up selling him for 50 mil, 55 mil, 60 mil. He could become that player, quite possibly. Look at Kudus. We bought him for 35 million pounds. He's already worth double that money. By the end of another season in the Premier League, he could be worth even more. He could be worth 80, 90 million pounds. So it's quite possible that at some point, whoever invests in Ibrahim Osman might be quids in. It's quite possible. And that is, in a way, the style that we want to follow. We do want to become the club that gets these players in young, gets them in for a decent price, and then sells them for a decent profit. But if you're already going to pay 18 million plus, as I've heard tonight, another 7 million, if you're already paying 25 million for a 19-year-old who hasn't proven it in a big league like the Premier League, it's going to be difficult to get your money back or make a lot of money on that player moving forward. So that's why I was a little bit skeptical when it first came out. Now, with all these things about, player agents in dispute, you've all said it earlier on, rogue agents coming in, etc., etc. And then apparently, an agent giving advice to David Sullivan that he shouldn't touch this player with a barge pole. Something's not quite right about it. You just start smelling the shit that's around it, and it's not the player's fault, as someone alluded to. This young player wants to play football and he wants to play it at the highest level. And I guess he must have got extremely excited the minute West Ham United expressed an interest. But for it to fall apart because of greedy agents and all that sort of stuff, I think it's a damn shame. And, I think it is dead. I don't think we are going for the player now. Apparently, tonight, Spurs have expressed an interest in the player. Who knows if that might come off? Apparently, there are teams around Europe that are interested in the player. If he's worth the money, he will be sold in this window. If he isn't, it wouldn't surprise me. Not because he's not worth maybe 15 million, but if it's 15 million plus another 7 million or 18 million plus another 7 million, all of a sudden, clubs are going to be going, I don't know about this one. You can look to the South American market and get a player in for a lot less that you could see is going to be the next Messi or whatever. I'm not saying Ibrahim Osman can't be the next big player. I'm not saying that. But I think it's going to be a bit of a gamble. Anyone willing to part with anything up to £18 million. And now, as I've heard tonight, another 7 million on top for agents' fees. So I think this deal's dead in the water. We talked about him earlier tonight. And from what I understand, the deal for Jota is a lot closer than it was. We all know about him. Portuguese under-21 international. Al Ittihad didn't register him, so he can't play in their league. But he has played some games. He has actually played in the ACF Champions League. And their last game, the last competitive game that he played in was in mid-December. Where they won 2-1 and he scored in that game. So he has had some game time, but he's not had regular game time. So in that sense, I don't think it's going to be too difficult to get him up to speed in terms of match fitness because he's played. Not played regularly, but he has played. And of course, he's been training as well. Okay, so the 200 grand salary that people are talking about, as someone has just said, Jolinho said it's not 190, it's about 95k. If it's 95k, that clears the path for making it a lot easier to get this player over the line. He's got 2.5 years left on his contract with Al Ittihad, and we heard tonight that Al Ittihad want 30 million for the player. Now, someone talked earlier on about we can only get 2 loan players in. Now, I thought the original deal was going to be a loan signing with an option or possibly an obligation to buy at the end of this season. Will he be worth 30 million? Well, look, if he becomes anywhere near as good as someone like Kudus, for example, then absolutely 30 million in this day and age doesn't seem like an awful lot of money. I know it sounds weird to say it, but doesn't seem like an awful lot of money to pay for a player. And if he does come in, he's got a good background. He was developed in the youth ranks at Benfica. He went on a couple of loan spells in Spain and in Scotland, where he played for Celtic, as we all know. And then the Scottish club signed him in 2022 for a fee of £14 million. Now, that's a decent chunk of money as well. He made 83 appearances, and this is what really piqued my interest. He made 83 appearances for Celtic, scoring 28 goals and 26 assists, which is pretty damn good. That's something like 1 in every 3-ish games with an assist. 24 years of age. He plays primarily on the left side of attack, and he's as good with his left foot as he is with his right. Some of the things that frustrate West Ham fans about someone like Ben Rama, for example, is how often Ben Rama dribbles with the ball and ends up in a cul-de-sac. Sometimes his decision making is pretty like, what shall I do with it? He sometimes seems to sort of freeze, doesn't he? Where he goes, I've got the ball. Should I cross it? Should I shoot? Should I pass it? Should I? And then before you know it, he does none of that or does it badly. And we lose the momentum. What Jota's got is he's instinctive. He's more often than not, when he gets the ball with his dribbling skills and his passing ability, he tries to make things happen, and he's quite instinctive in what he does. He's not getting the ball and going, oh, what do I do with it? He's getting the ball and he's already thought about how he's going to use it. And playing alongside players like Paqueta, Kudus, Bowen could be a really big deal here. Now, do I think he will start regularly? No. Do I think he's someone that can come off the bench and have an impact? Possibly, yes. Quite possibly. He opens up spaces with his running. He draws defenders to him, creating spaces for his teammates. Like I said, he's also got excellent quick decision making. And he can actually join a squad of players that we've got who have got an excellent range of passing. Phillips is great at passing. Alvarez is a decent passer of the ball. Ward-Prowse is a decent passer of the ball. Paqueta is a decent passer of the ball. You get someone in on the left side that we need. Not only will he actually join that group of really decent of players with really decent passing ability, he's someone that will give us that on the left-hand side of the pitch, which is something that we're missing. Paqueta, it means Paqueta can move more centrally. Even though he doesn't really play as a wide man, he plays like an inverted winger, normally sort of marauds across that middle of the park. But when you've got Jota there coming on in order to make an impact, make a change in the game, that means that Paqueta will be more, in his more natural role in the middle of the park. I think, to be quite honest with you, I wasn't sure, especially when I heard initially that he was on a salary of 200 grand a week, etc. I just dismissed it. And I shouldn't do that. I shouldn't automatically dismiss because of a piece of information. I think he is a good player. People have said that they've watched him in Scottish football. They've alluded to him. They talked about him. And he would be, when I look at the Ibrahim Osman deal and then I look at Jota and I look at the two and go, if I'm going to be spending my money, who would rather spend my money on? Would I be wanting to pay what I thought was 18 million and now is 25 million for Osman, 19 years of age? Or would I give another 5 million and get Jota in for 30 million all in? Someone who has played Scottish football is not Premier League football, but as someone said, it's quite physical. What is it? Championship level, give or take, if you want to call it that. I think for someone like him, and with the stats that I read, I'm surprised. 26 assists and 83 appearances. I think for me, it would be an excellent addition to West Ham United. And I think if we can get that deal over the line, okay, there is the issue about this tax. That maybe he'd have to pay a lot of tax back because it's all, I don't know, tax-free over there in Saudi, etc. But I'm sure West Ham United will come to an agreement that's not only going to suit the player, but it's going to suit West Ham as well. And is 30 million too much to expect for him? They pay 25 million for him. They want to make a bit of money out of him. I reckon we can negotiate that as well. I don't see that it would be a bad deal, to be quite honest with you. And from my understanding, we're a lot closer to getting Jota over the line than we were this time last week. So look out for that. I think it's going to be quite interesting to see what happens. Now, I talked, I put it as a bit of a teaser in the headline of the show that he could be a replacement for Paqueta. Bear me out, because they've got similar kind of styles of play. They're both creative, forward-thinking. They're team players. They get stuck in to help defensively. That's one thing that Jota has that we didn't realize Paqueta had. Paqueta will get stuck in. All right, he's given the ball away a few times in dangerous areas. But Jota is just not a creative player and a flair player. he will get involved in the team play. He will drop and help defend to try and win the ball back. That's one of his strengths, is winning the ball back and turning it from winning the ball back into attacking play. And that's a similar thing. And that's why I think that quite possibly, look, we're likely to lose Paqueta at the end of this season, unless, of course, we win the Europa League and we go into the Champions League. And then maybe that will be something that he'll decide he wants to be a part of. But I think we're resigned to the fact that the next big player to leave West Ham is quite likely to be Paqueta. And if we want someone to replace him that's going to be a little bit on the front foot, a player that can become talismanic in the same way as Paqueta, why not then possibly we bring Jota in for 6 months, see how he fares. If he does well, and then quite possibly it will cushion the blow somewhat by having a creative player in the team, loan signing to permanent signing in order to replace Paqueta. So I'm not advocating, or I'm not saying it's definitely going to happen, but I'm trying to see the logic in what Jota, Jolinho, I know I'm fucking it up. Jota, I can see the possibility of someone like Jota coming in, and if he does well this season, it could be the catalyst for him to become a regular player next season, when we quite possibly will lose Paqueta in the transfer window in the summer. Look, their stats, I couldn't compare this season because Jota's hardly played. So this is last season. And you look at their stats in terms of things like ball recoveries, Paqueta is better. Possession lost, Paqueta is better. But goals scored. All right, I know this is Premier League against Scottish League. I know that, so bear with me. But goals scored, 11 goals for Jota compared to 4 for Paqueta. Shot accuracy, much higher for Jota. Assists, a lot more assists. Chances created, double the chances created than Paqueta has. So you could see that he wouldn't be too bad a signing, and he wouldn't be too bad in terms of what he can offer to the team. There's an interesting player there, and someone, because of the circumstance that he finds himself in, someone who could actually be a real asset to West Ham. And if we do lose, or when we do lose Paqueta, he might become the player to be able to replace him in the type of player that we want, that creative midfielder who can actually play across that front line. And he might be that kind of player. Right. What else have we got? Well, of course, when it comes to 18-year-olds and 19-year-olds worth an awful lot of money, we're in for all of them, aren't we? The next rumour is Inter Milan apparently are interested in listening to offers of £23 million for Valentin Carboni. The 18-year-old Argentinian attacking midfielder is currently on loan to Italian club Monza. He's made 16 appearances. He's scored 2 goals. He's got 3 assists. 23 million. That ain't happening. Broja, we've got 2 links to players from Chelsea, which have been links throughout the whole of this January window. The first one is Amanda Broja, who I keep asking, are we interested? And I keep being given the same answer. No, we have absolutely no interest in him. And now that Chelsea have slapped a £35 million fee on him, even less likely. This season so far, after returning from cruciate ligament injury, in 19 appearances, he scored 2 goals with 2 assists. Now, the player that, and when it comes to confusing, when it comes to how many loan players we can get, that I think we could possibly still be in for, is Chelsea's Trevoh Chalobah. Now, all right, he's just returned from injury as well, albeit recently with thigh injury. So he hasn't had any regular game time this season. But as I've stated before, Pochettino doesn't have him in his plans. They're ready to loan the player out with a possible view for him to being purchased outright. So they're willing to listen to offers. We know we've got a problem with our defence. We said it earlier in the show. Ogbonna is wonderful, but aging. Mavropanos can't seem to shake any errors out of him. And Aguerd doesn't want to be here, apparently. And, of course, Kurt Zouma looks like a busted flush with those knees. So it wouldn't be a bad thing, would it, as at least a backup to get someone like Trevor Chalobah in the team. Look, he's young, he's agile, he's proven in the Premier League. He was a regular starter until the end of last season. He's good with the ball at his feet. He's a modern day type of defender, carrying the ball out. He's filled in at right back as well in his career. He's got excellent positional awareness, and it might be a great opportunity to bring someone like him in now in order to cover for our central defence. I actually don't think he'll be cover. I think he'll end up getting quite a bit of game time, to be quite honest with you. Look, he also fills another void that we've talked about earlier on. Homegrown players. He'll be another homegrown player. If you want a 25-man squad moving forward, you've got to have at least 8 of them as homegrown players. So I think that's going to be interesting. Now, given that we've already got Phillips in on loan, we can only have one more loan signing. Will it be Chalobah or will it be Jota? That's an interesting thing. It could be. I'm not saying guaranteed that we might end up buying Jota and bringing Chalobah in on loan. It could be. So let's see what happens in the last few days of this transfer window. As for players leaving, you've heard it earlier on. There's a freeze on any more players leaving, but we're still interested in offers for Cornet, Fornals, and Benrahma. But they're only going to go if we've got someone lined up to replace them outright. That's it. Let's go back into your comments and see what else you've got before I leave you for the evening. And I've got a lot of comments to catch up on, so do forgive me. Early doors football, good evening to you. I was having great talking to each other. That's good. Trini, if we have Phillips and Alvarez deep, we could then push higher up the field and get the best out of Agurd and Mavropanos. Yeah, it takes the pressure off them as well. Absolutely agree. Andrew, good evening to you. Hopefully now we might have more control of games and better possession stats. Again, totally agree. What else have we got? Rani, I searched for it, but only got the TV program as a result. Can get a link, please? What is that? Are you promoting Early Doors TV? If you're promoting it, put a link up, mate, and I'll put it up for everybody. There you go. Do it all as one word, Early Doors Football TV. There you go. Andrew, I think West Ham would have got some guarantees that Marshall will get game time at West Brom. I really do hope so. I really, really do hope so. They've got issues. I said this last week when I did a show about when I included Marshall. You know, at the moment, out of the top 10 teams or the top 8 teams in the Championship, West Brom are the lowest scorers. They've got issues with players injured, etc. So I think he probably will get some game time. It might mainly be from the bench, but I hope he does. Dean, fantastic channel. Silly question, but getting a home ticket seems impossible. Good news going forward, but how do I get about getting away tickets? Middle-aged man, spent time traveling Oz and New Zealand. I won't lie to you, mate, and thank you for the compliment. I won't lie to you. Getting away tickets is really, really difficult. Getting home tickets is easier. There are always tickets available for most games, but I won't lie. Away tickets are like gold dust at the moment, mates. Ayok, good evening to you. Rios' cousin Franz being linked as well. Apparently, they can get a tune out of him. They can't get a tune out of him at Rangers. I don't know about that, so I'll have a look into that. What else have we got? Let's scroll down. Jonathan, how are you? What if Moyes drops Kudus and has all the midfielders making 2 banks of 4 defence? There's no way he's doing that. No way. Famous last words. Hammer it. At least Liverpool can lose games next season without that damn pitch being too long or the wind too strong. Rani. Phillips is definitely starting on Thursday. The club text messaged me, inviting me to come and watch him. Stephen, evening to you, mate. We had a great start in 11. We have a great start in 11. The bench needs a massive upgrade in order to continue our steady progress. Totally agree, which is why I think we're going to have rotation rather than, having this thing about players being dropped. Espen. Steiden knows he ain't going to change everything at once when he knows he's dealing with a stubborn manager. He knows that. So he's working with him. No point working against him. Absolutely correct. Andrew, will be interesting to see if he drops Alvarez on Thursday to accommodate Phillips and shoehorn his love child in Souček. Early doors. Still, would you say that we have finally got a decent scouting network? Yes. And with Steiden bringing in his brother and co, things are looking up. But do you see us being held back by the owners? No, I don't. What the owners have done, they've finally woken up. The owners have finally woken up to how transfers should work. As I said earlier on the show, one of the things that the owners have done in the past is they've spent money without any proper strategy. We buy players for a lot of money, we sell them for less money than we bought them for. It's an absolute disaster. Bringing Steiden in is actually going to improve not only our scouting network, but also the way we do our business. We're not going to go and buy and spend money, big money, on players that we're going to lose money on in the future. I think those days are over. We're now dealing with the tail end of that. So the last that you'll see is maybe Cornet leaving at a loss, and maybe Fornals leaving at a loss. But otherwise, moving forward, Paqueta's worth more. All right, that wasn't Steiden, but Paqueta's worth more. Bowen is worth more. Kudus is worth more. And that's the way it's going to go. We've got to accept that at some point we will lose some of these big players. In order to make big money on them, you're going to have to let them go at a time when they're still at their peak. But having a proper scouting network means that when you lose a player as big as Paqueta, Bowen, Kudus, etc., you're ready with the next player that comes in to take that player's place, and it'll be seamless. A little bit like what Brighton do. That's the way it should be working moving forward. Juha, Trevor Chalobah, yes. I don't know if you mentioned that after I've talked about him or before, but yes. John, if we get Jota, who is going to be Andrew Ridgely? Let's skip that one. Rani, what are Tim's brother's qualifications? Does anyone know? I had a look and couldn't find much. Hope it ain't a job for the boys' appointment. I don't know, to be honest, but that's a really good question. But I'll see if I can look into that. Peter, you were following Sullivan's car when a couple of blow-up dolls pop up in the back window like only fools and horses. GJ, I heard Osman's Nigerian agent was furious because of a... Let's not go there. Dean, halfway through the season, where do you think will be end of the season? I say 7th, going to be beaten. I say we're going to hang on to 6. It's going to be hard, but I think we'll finish in the top 6. 50 pence. Teams that don't own their stadium: Newcastle, Forest, Man City, Chelsea, not to mention teams like Milan, PSG, Roma. There's a stack of teams. That's interesting. I thought Chelsea did own theirs, didn't they? Man City definitely don't. I didn't know Newcastle didn't, and I didn't know Forest didn't either. But it is quite common abroad. You're absolutely right. Lord Patrick, I was at the home game against Gillingham. They used to represent Birmingham in the film Green Street Hooligans. Green Street Hooligans. Let's scroll down. What else have we got? Trying to catch up, and I'm way behind, but I will try my best. I'm lagging. You can hear that in my voice, don't you? Early doors. I know we have the rumour mill merchants, but surely we're not as delusional as a certain North London TV channel. I think we're close sometimes. I think we end up believing all the stuff that goes out there. Hammerstad, don't speak Antonio on the bench. Perhaps he could do a job in defence. Well, he's going to have to get used to it, to be quite honest with you. He's going to have to get used to being on the bench, because who's he going to dislodge from the lineup that we have? If you've got Paqueta, let's say for argument's sake at this moment in time, you've got Paqueta, Kudus and Bowen with Ward-Prowse, Phillips, Alvarez behind. Who are you dropping for him? You're not, are you? Steve, all this bullshit we read on World Wide Web is copied, repeated and regurgitated, but I still watch it. It's not just the videos, mate. It's all the written stuff that is out there. Jonathan, mate, don't worry. We all read it. It's just a matter of trying not to believe it. Jonathan, it's £95,000 base with tax on top at 45%. So it's closer to 195k. Depends on what he wants to do. I think he wants to play football. To be honest with you. So I hope he does the right thing and joins West Ham. Let's scroll down. Do forgive me. Bill, let me tell you, my dad was the only one that spoke pidgin in Italian. Sunderland's Clark will have trouble going to an Italian team. Rani, I don't know, H8. I think there could be times it's prime for Antonio to come on and put himself about up front, not for 90 minutes, but as an impact sub. Yeah, I agree. We've been saying that for an awful long time. Brian, you think if we sign him, Jota, he might shave that awful moustache? I can't see it. He'll get a lot of stick. Irons lady, good evening to you. Shame we loaned Flynn Downs out. We could have spent the Phillips Wonga on a winger. Yeah, I like Downs, but there's a good chance if we end up signing Phillips permanently, that might be it for Downs, unfortunately. Black Country. Jota looks like John Cleese in the 1970s hotel comedy. 40 Towers. Can't remember the name of the program. 40 Towers. Great program. Hammersdad. They can't deal with Antonio in Europe, so I'm sure he'll have games. Absolutely, he will. Hope he doesn't stir in the shit when he ain't playing every game. Yeah, he does do that a little bit. Espen, guess who made the bench weaker than it should be by only playing the first 11? I didn't understand that. It's probably coming off another comment, so do forgive me for not understanding. DJ Bombjack, good evening to you. Osman runs like Sterling. Jota is way more skilled. Not sure he defends well enough for Moyes. Jota, I think he does from what I've read, about his tracking back and trying to win the ball back. He's a team player. So I'm very interested in seeing what happens there. Brian, I bet Antonio was praying that Callum Wilson rumours will go away. He would have gotten done on his podcast. Huge. Good evening to you, mate. I hope you're well. No way will any European team pay £25 million for an untried and untested 19-year-old. Also, there is no way Daniel Levy would do that either. They're too wise. Good point. Howard, Jota sounds quality, but really he suits a Spurs. Stop it, mate. GJ. I remember a Moyes interview and he said he wants us to play attacking football that the fans enjoyed. He absolutely said that. I think he absolutely means that. And I think quite possibly, bringing in Phillips and someone like Jota will give us that. Peter, Jota looks more like Bobby Paul. Irons lady. And an injury-prone Northern or a local boy who loves the Hammers. Downs every time for me. Yeah, fair point. Very, very fair point. Jolinho. Jota's name is, I know, I read that earlier. João Pedro Neves Felipe. Jota is a nickname which means J. Yeah, I read that earlier. It's like Paqueta's full name is De Palma, Cabello de Palma or something like that. Like, thank goodness they got John. Like, they still say Jota gets stuck in. Stop it, man. You, mate, you put me in trouble. Kaiser, good evening to you. Jota has speed with a nice pass on the end of it. What else have we got here? Jonathan. Apparently, Paqueta hearing and confirmation will not be completed until way past the summer transfer window. So we might have him for one more season yet. That'd be great, wouldn't it? We need him when we're in the Champions League playing low ball. Oh, low block, sorry. Low ball, low block. Dean, can anyone please help for a home ticket or an away ticket? Just moved back to Essex. Dean, message. I'm not guaranteeing it, but send me a message on that. westhamvoice@gmail.com. And I'll see what I can try and do for you. I can't promise, but I'll see what we can try and do. Pack it in. Jota is better at scoring and has more assists. He's going to be an asset. Mate, what is wrong with you? Have you been on the booze? Ray, I like the Jota look. I might adopt it myself. Wear tight trousers. Change my name to Tony Lovelace. Epic. If we sign Carboni for 23 million, Moyes is going to put him in the under 21s, which is why we ain't going to sign him for that. Don't start. Oh, please. Did the stream buffer for anyone else? I hope not. I really do hope not. I hope it was only you. Well, I hope not. I hope it's only you. I hope it's all right now. Hammer's dad. Let's get rid of that. Hammer's dad. I think if we keep this team and tighten up defense, we could be league contenders next season. I wouldn't go that far, but I think we'll be a very, very good team. Peter, Chalobah has been on loan to a few clubs, not good enough. I don't know. I think he was pretty decent before he got his injury. Would he be a good backup? It might be a good backup, to be quite honest with you. Let's scroll down. Early doors, time to go still. Early to start tomorrow. Thanks for the stream. My pleasure. Thank you for watching and thank you for taking part. Clive, Chelsea want to offload Broja and Chalobah because they're not good enough for the Premier League. Every Chelsea fan I know say so. Okay, I might have got that wrong then for Chalobah. I thought he was half decent. Brighton bidding for Osman, 23 million, and Brentford also interested. Good luck. Good luck to them. If they've got that sort of money to burn, we might be proven wrong. I might be proven wrong. Huge. I think we should walk away from both Osman and Jota deals. Too expensive for inexperienced, untried players. The window will still be good if we get Chalobah on loan to back up Phillips. See, people got different opinions on the players. Bill, and it's night from me. Catch up the rest of the show in the morning. Thank you for getting involved, Bill. Much appreciated. Martin, thanks for another great show. Absolute pleasure. It seems like 2 hours is about as much as you lot can take. Thanks for bringing up to date with the latest on West Ham. My pleasure, mate. And thank you for joining in the chat as well. Let's scroll down. Rani opens the show with West Ham. Have been talking to the wrong agent. 2 hours in, and West Ham know how the transfer market works. That's I've taught you something, or maybe you taught me something. Let me scroll down and see if I can. How far am I? I'm not far. I do forgive me for having missed quite a lot of your comments because I'm down the end now. Still, I think Dean might have already left tonight's show. By the time you put him, he probably has. That's it. I'm going to do that. That's it. Thank you all for watching. I've done 2 hours. I'm running out of breath. I'm running out of steam. Really appreciated. Always great to get your views, your comments. Thank you for updating me on the fact that it's 18 million plus another 7 million for Osman, which means 100% we're not going to be signing him. Jota, I don't mind. I wouldn't mind him. Probably a decent backup player. Wouldn't go amiss, to be quite honest with you. He might be better than we all think. But that's the rumour of tonight. That apparently we're in advanced talks for him. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for listening. If you're new to the channel, do subscribe. Do hit that like button as well, which will help. I'll be back. You know, the window is about to close. We've only got a few days left. So I'll definitely be back with another quick show or two. I'll be at the game on Thursday, so I won't be doing a transfer deadline day show because I'll be at the game against Bournemouth. So have a good week, and we'll see you all very soon. And don't go worrying about transfers that ain't going to happen.